Yo, what is up guys? Sorry for that intro, but let's jump right into part 3 with the first weapon for today. And as you can see, the Amazing Grace starts with an A, but I haven't discovered this amazing Jacob's revolver yet when I made part 1, so that's why I will include it here alongside another weapon I just recently discovered. But starting with the Amazing Grace, you can get this pistol as a quest reward after a side mission right here in Devil's Razor. I don't want to spoil anything for you about this mission, but what you have to do is you have to find Tina and Brick right around this area, finish their mission until you get to this little town where you'll find Mordecai, who gives you the quest called Life of the Party. The weapon is awesome if you can land consecutive critical hits. You can use this thing pretty much like a sniper. It has the same ability like the King's or Queen's Call, Lucian's Call or Rowan's Call, where it would return ammo to your magazine on every critical hit. It does significantly more damage per shot though, so get this weapon, the mission goes by quick and easy.
You there, how are your last breaths going?
The next weapon that should have been included in another part is this funky and, in my opinion, awesome looking Atlas rocket launcher that has the name Freeman. In my case, it is the boosted Freeman, and even though it cannot come with any element, your prefix of this weapon might change if you get this right here in the Devil's Anvil from the boss enemy called Warden. He is pretty easy to farm since there is a save station right in front of the arena alongside an ammo station, and he will spawn every single time you load back into the game. The name Freeman and the red text "the right man in the wrong place can make all the difference" is obviously a reference to Gordon Freeman and the Half-Life series, where this is a direct quote from the G-Man. I'm so glad this weapon dropped for me. It is so much fun to use. It fires rockets that you can control by yourself, and they will fly exactly where you are aiming at. They do massive amounts of damage and can be fired off super quickly for a rocket launcher. This thing is awesome, looks awesome. Get this weapon. Okay, back to our original order. Even though I hate Katagawa because he's a little bit for what he has done to Maliwan in this game, I have to say that the Hellshock is another at least decent legendary pistol from Maliwan. Since it is called Hellshock, it can only come with the fire and shock element and can drop from any lootable source in the game with the red text "I had not thought death had undone so many" attached to it. This is a reference to Dante's Inferno and can also be found in T.S. Eliot's poem The Wasteland. Like I said, the weapon is decent when you shoot it, but the special ability is kinda useless to me, where the projectiles you fire will bounce just once if you miss a target, and when they do, they switch to the other element. That's pretty much it about this pistol. Now, take a moment to pray for the RNGesus for the next weapon, please. The Hellwalker might just be the best shotgun in the game. It is a reference to the shotgun from the Doom series and comes with the red text "So, my demons, your time has come." And every time you shoot it, a guitar riff can be heard from the 2016 Doom game soundtrack. Even though this Jacob's weapon only has one shot per reload, I believe it will always come with the speed loading prefix that gives you an increase in reload speed so you can fire it off pretty quickly for damage, and more damage. It even ricochets its bullets to other enemies on crits. Always fire any lootable source in the game. Go out there and get it right now. When it comes to this returning rocket launcher from Borderlands 2, the Hive, you are better off using it against the boss enemy instead of general mobbing. This time around it is manufactured by Torque instead of Maliwan and is now a legendary weapon in Borderlands 3, even though it kept its original design and red text that says "full of bees," which will be clear once I tell you what this weapon does. But first, let me show you how to get this thing. You want to fast travel to the shop station right here in the Splinterlands on Pandora, hop into a vehicle from the catch-a-ride station right next to you and continue your way to the right side from the station underneath that little rag nest until you get to the area close to the ramp. That is where the rare enemy Princess Tarantella II will have a chance to spawn. If she doesn't, just save and quit and try it again. The rocket launcher will shoot a slow moving projectile that will spawn some more projectiles when it hits the surface or after a certain distance, just like bees from a beehive. It is great for any armored enemies, especially bosses, but as you can see, not that good for general mobbing. Another weapon you cannot obtain from just any random lootable source in the game is the legendary TDR shotgun called the Horizon. It will only drop from a server spot with the name Maxi Trillion on Eden 6 right here in the Voracious Canopy. Am I saying that right? I don't know. Anyway, Maxi Trillion is a rare enemy that will not spawn every time, but fortunately for us, it is pretty close to the boss arena from Genevieve, so there's a save station you will respawn at to get to him. I've been farming Genevieve for hours now and she has yet to drop anything specific, but if she should one day, you can also farm her from that location before you go to look if Maxi Trillion has spawned. The name of this weapon and the red text is a reference to the sci-fi horror movie Event Horizon, where a character says, "You can't leave, she won't let you." The weapon mechanics sound great on paper and it looks pretty cool in game, but it's not the most practical to be honest. Since it is a TDR weapon, its uniqueness comes from its reload, where you will throw your weapon as a homing grenade that when you can shoot it before it explodes on impact, it will create a singularity that pulls in enemies and then explode after a while or when you shoot it again. But you focus too much on shooting the reloaded weapon and it's more of a gimmick than really useful. Still pretty fun when you pull it off and an okay shotgun when shooting it. If this style pistol looks familiar to you, it is probably because it was also in Borderlands 2 and still has the same design, which is also the same design the Hive has. It was also in Borderlands 1 as a unique blue rarity pistol but with a different design. I'm talking of course about the always corrosive, the Hornet. My very first legendary weapon in Borderlands 2 in my first playthrough at level 2, which none of you will care about, but I had to share my nostalgia, goddammit. Unlike the Hive though, this one can drop from any lootable source in the game and has the red text "Fear the Swarm," as in Fear the Hornets probably. The weapon always shoots in a 6-shot burst and is so satisfying to use. It melts enemies' armor with a high chance to apply a status effect and it deals corrosive splash damage with every shot. I love this pistol. Next up is another pre-order bonus from the Super Deluxe Edition that just sucks, which is the Hyper-Hydrator, and I'm glad you guys didn't miss out on any of the weapons if you haven't bought the Super Deluxe Edition. Now granted, the Hyper-Hydrator doesn't suck as much as the Girth Blaster Elite does, but it's still not a good weapon. As a Mali 1 weapon, it has two elements you can switch between, where you can either squirt them with water or shock them with obviously shock, and me trying to be logical thought you'd had to first squirt them to do extra damage when shocking them, but the shock fire mode is just so bad that you are better off firing it as a water pistol only. Even though I agree with the red text, it does not apply to this weapon.
Not gonna hold them forever!
Finally! I reload! In the twin dogs renew our number!
Also returning from Borderlands 2 is the Vladov Infinity Pistol, and in my case it is the Negating Infinity Pistol, but in your case the element could be anything else than cryo and can also drop from any lootable source in the game. This weapon is a fan favorite because it is such a nice thing to literally have infinite ammo, and even though due to the low damage it is not as viable for late game, it is awesome to have for early game. It always shoots in the pattern of an infinity sign and has the red text "It's closer than you think." No, it isn't. Which is a direct quote from Stephen King's short story The Jaunt. The pistol is a must-have for every Borderlands fan.
Death comes for us all!
This crazy looking rocket launcher is called Jericho, with the red text as a quote from Tony Stark in the Iron Man movie from 2008, where he fires his Jericho missiles after saying, "I prefer the weapon you only fire once." When you shoot this machine, its projectile will fly up towards the sky before it explodes and lets 3 smaller projectiles rain down on your enemies or yourself and explode on impact. But it doesn't end there. There's an alternate fire mode where it lets you shoot at least 5 projectiles like they are coming from a mortar.
What?
I know, it's awesome. It can come with every element and from any lootable source in the game, and then just have fun with it. One of the weapons that almost always makes it into my inventory is the Chaos. In my case, I have the shocking Relentless Chaos, but this prefix could change every time it drops from any lootable source in the game, since it can come with any element. The reason why I almost always have it on me is because it is so good in taking down enemy shields. I have not tried any other element on this weapon, but if they are just close to being this much fun as the shock version was for me, definitely give this one a try. I don't know if there's any reference to the red text grants the mystical art of exploding small hands, but what it does in game is that every time you kill an enemy, they will explode in whatever element you have on it. It can switch between full auto and a 5-shot burst, but I always prefer the full auto due to the downtime in between the bursts. Okay, now the Kill-O-the-Wisp is a weird one. It is a Marley 1 shotgun that kinda sucks, but is also pretty cool in my opinion. The weapon's name and red text, some say it can lead you to your fate, is I believe a reference to the Will of the Wisp from the Elder Scrolls Oblivion, which are little ghost-like creatures that kinda float around like little orbs. And this is also kinda what the weapon will always shoot in shock element. It is a big orb that explodes after a certain distance and just travels through your enemy while chaining lightning to every enemy nearby. It looks cool, the concept is cool, but the damage isn't cool. It can drop you from any lootable source in the game, but is nothing to be too excited about when it does.
Grabbed an idiot! Who wants the kill? Already forgotten!
Another Marley 1 weapon that has an awesome design but ultimately suffers heavily from the charge up time that Marley 1 weapons received in Borderlands 3 is the legendary sniper rifle called Krakatoa. At least this one does decent damage when you can hit an enemy's crit spot, which is pretty tough by itself if they are not standing still, and then it also spawns little volcanoes when you kill someone with it that will then spit out small damaging fireballs. The best thing about this is the reference though, which is not only the volcano with the same name, but with the flavor text, "Get him angry and he is bound to erupt," a reference to Squidward as Captain Magma from SpongeBob. This alone is a reason to be excited about this weapon, even though the full auto mode after charging up for ages is not optimal for a sniper rifle. Oh, and of course, it only comes with the fire element from any lootable source in the game. With the next weapon on this list comes just pure fun, with not only the laser exploder itself, but also with its reference. This is a Torque assault rifle with the red text, "Lasers unequal
Explosions!
because Mr. Torque said he basically hates laser rifles in the pre-sequel because there are no explosions with it. Well, here you go. A Torque laser weapon that can come with every element from any lootable source in the game that also occasionally fires exploding projectiles alongside its laser. Keep in mind though that the laser seems to have a limited range, so make sure to use it from mid to close range only. The lead sprinkler is probably the only Jacob's weapon on this list I don't really enjoy using in Borderlands 3. I'm not saying that it is bad, but in my opinion it is not quite as fun to use. Kinda like the Gatling gun, even though I like that one a little better for whatever reason. The ability with the red text splash splash sounds great and also is pretty useful for crowd control, but I found the weapon to be pretty inaccurate with also a small magazine and a relatively long reload time. But when you hit an enemy with this weapon, it sprinkles a bullet from that enemy instead of ricocheting it that will explode on impact, and even 3 of them on a critical hit. It cannot come with any element though, is obtainable through any lootable source in the game, and you might like this one more than I do. If you want an inferior version of the Kill-O-the-Wisp, look no further than the LARP shotgun, manufactured by Torque. It is literally the same gun as the Kill-O-the-Wisp, without the ability to chain lightning to nearby enemies and even less damage. What it has over the Kill-O-the-Wisp though, is that it can come in any element, but also from any lootable source in the game. I don't know what the red text "everything has to be magical" is a reference to, and I don't even care. Don't even bother with this one. The last weapon I want to include in part 3 is also a pretty cool one, the Long Musket ++. This is probably one of the more known weapons in Borderlands 3 since it was speculated about even before the release of this game. This is a weapon made for and inspired by Elon Musk, while the red text and the bonus right text are both from a tweet by Elon himself. This thing is literally a flamethrower and just melts enemies up close. A cool weapon to end this part with, and you definitely want to try it out if you are lucky enough that it drops from any lootable source in the game for you. And now I almost forgot that this is also a TDO weapon that when you throw it seeks out an enemy while still throwing flames. Just awesome.
Hell! Did you see that?
That's it for part 3 today, guys. I'm sorry for only including 15 weapons today. I feel pretty tired and had a pretty busy day, so forgive me, and tomorrow I will upload the regular 20 weapons for part 4, so stay tuned. Make sure to subscribe and like this video if you enjoyed it. I really put a lot of time and effort into these, so I would appreciate it if they get received well and recognized by more people. So thanks for everybody watching, and see you guys tomorrow.